to our first ever Digging Deeper podcast. And it's a podcast that's going to have a lot of people from the different industries involved, talking about their careers, how they've got where they are, their journey, and what's to come in the future too. And I'm delighted to say that our first guest is Emma Dymond, CEO of Motion Rail. So Emma, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Harry. Nice to be here.
Good stuff. So I think we should get straight into it and start with, for people who don't know, a background on Motion Rail. Who are you and how you've got to where you are today in the briefest way possible?
Yeah, of course. So it was an adventure that started 11 years ago. I founded Motion, which is a railway signalling and telecoms company. We do rail systems engineering, also looking at stations and electrical work, everything really from design through to delivery. Mm-hmm. We've worked on some quite large projects like Thameslink, Crossrail, and more recently the Greater West electrification. Yeah. About 55 members of staff. We are based in South Wales, but we work nationally across Network Rail and Transport for Wales's networks. Yeah. So 11 years ago, I got a bit brave and decided to do something different. My background as an engineer was in railway, but I decided that I needed my own company and to do something for me and my family, I suppose. So my granddad sent me some money in an envelope, not an awful lot, and said, go and register a company, I believe in you. And I think that's where it all began. But 11 years ago, I sometimes wonder where the time went.
So I remember you coming up to our head offices about 2 years ago now, and you showed us the VR virtual reality training, which I'm really interested in, which I think is a great technique to teach people, and especially kids, which I know you do quite a lot. So tell us a bit more about the VR and how that came about.
So obviously we're not a virtual reality specialist, but we wanted to do something different. And obviously it's a very highly regulated industry. The railway is a hazardous area if it's not used correctly. So one of the things that we really struggle with is to not have an operational impact. And when you're training people, you have to be careful that obviously we can't let them go out and play on the railway. They need to be competent individuals. So getting trained is one thing, but getting experience is something else, and can prove challenging. So we were thinking about opening a training school, some simulators, and then I had a crazy idea about what if we did this in VR. And VR wasn't really a thing at that point. You know, we'd sort of seen Google Glasses. It was a very, I would say, 3D experience, but not interactive. You sort of put lenses on and moved around and you could look at things, but not really do a lot else. Yeah. So we thought about how it would work. We went to the University of South Wales and pitched an idea. They said, we quite like this. We've got a division called CMAT that may be able to help you. So we went and chatted a bit further, and the concept was born of building a virtual railway that we could train our engineers on initially. Yeah. And we built a level crossing, we built tunnels, we replicated the Severn tunnel, we had 4 miles of track. We programmed it with a rule book so that it behaved like a real railway. We could change the direction of trains, the line speeds, all of those good things. And then we developed it a bit further and realised, you know, actually, we've got something quite powerful here, a way to promote the railway. Yeah. And being a big fan of STEM subjects with my own background, I thought, what about children? You can't take children to the railway. And at the time we were struggling, you know, sort of national skills gaps were being looked at. There were initiatives called Bossing the Crossing with Network Rail. And we started to think about, could we use this as a safety tool? Could we use this to promote, you know, diversity in engineering? Could we use it to promote STEM subjects? We looked at other options and realised that actually, rather than using this purely for training our own team, that we actually had something very powerful that we could, you know, we can't take the children to the railway, but we can take that railway to the classroom. So we trialled it. We spoke to Network Rail and we said, what do you think about this virtual railway? We think it's got potential. They They instantly came and had a look. Were really helpful. We had Alan Spence's team came down, and Alan himself, at the time, I think he's the director for passenger and public safety.
Okay.
He came and had a look. He said, I like your railway, but you better make sure it's compliant if you're going to teach children with it.
Yeah.
So we got in touch with, I think it was Bill Kelly's team from Wales Route, and he was very lovely and let us come and see his route level crossing managers. They took some photos. We modelled the railway. We made the signage bilingual, so it was Welsh as well. And we built a compliant railway that we then took to the schools to see what would happen. And the results were just phenomenal. We had children, putting headsets on, seeing the railway for the first time in a way they hadn't. And then we sort of worked with the community safety managers to develop a presentation where they gave a presentation about safe use of level crossings, not trespassing on the railway, the risks of electrification. I then gave a bit of a talk really about careers in rail and my path and the way that I sort of developed a business and what that meant to me. Also talked about the sort of roles that you have in rail. People don't realise how many different jobs you can actually do in our industry. Most of the young children thought I probably cleaned trains, hoovered them inside. Not sure I've ever done that, but we played some fun games and hopefully made them aware along the way. And then put the headsets on them afterwards, and we asked them to really repeat their understanding of knowledge. So what they'd learned in their classroom environment in the presentation, we put the headsets on them and then asked them to try and use the level crossing. And if they made a mistake, obviously, the train hits them. You can't play chicken with the game. They get killed or injured. There's no gore, there's no blood, but it's very, very simple. You can't win, and that sort of, I think, was fueled a little bit by Network Rail's You versus Train campaigns that went on. We talked a lot about the consequences of accidents, but most importantly, it meant for the first time children could practice using a level crossing, because the risk assessments wouldn't allow for you to take a classroom full of children to a level crossing and say, come on guys, let's have a go. It just wouldn't happen. So it was great. It was received well. Children loved it. Network Rail loved it. British Transport Police got involved. They loved it too. And we decided that actually what we'd created was worth, it was just not measurable. So we started a not-for-profit program, if you like, and we donated the software and the equipment to anybody that wanted to use it in the rail industry. And I think to date, 300,000 children have received motion reality training, and it's our corporate social responsibility program that we're really proud of. So
that's
it's
awesome.
Unusual and not particularly linked to signalling and telecoms, but it's what we do now.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I remember at school as a young kid, you learn how to ride a bike properly and you learn how to cross a road safely and stuff like that, but I never once learned about railways and how obviously it's quite obvious that they can be dangerous, but how to use them correctly and be safe there, we never really taught. So I think, and with a VR, which is something that's so modern and kids are familiar with it anyway, with video games and stuff like that, then to combine the two is quite a really good idea actually, and it sounds like it's been received really well by all the kids you've had.
It has, for sure, and in line with what you're saying, there are skills centres, I think 6 of them across the country, these national skills centres that do things like cycling proficiency, and we've been in discussions with them to look to see if this is something that they could roll out and support as well. So what really strikes me as being the most amazing part is the collaboration. Even Pulsar, it's not an advert, they haven't asked me to say this, but we came to you, we said we needed mini Visi vests. You helped, you gave us Visi vests, you helped us print them all up. We go to the schools, we make a fuss, we wear replica suits, we have head-to-toe PPE. We can explain to children the difference between why we're allowed on the railway and the protective measures that we have to take to be on the railway versus why it's not a place for them to play, because you get a lot of, well, we can play, you know, you go on track, why can't we? And you explain, we wear the special clothes, these keep us safe, we have a license, you know, we get trained. And I think it's an important deterrent as well, because we pitched this across many ages, but we looked particularly at the smaller children, and some said, oh, that's too early. And for me, yes, 13-year-olds love VR, but they're probably already playing on the railway if they're going to. So it's more of a case of getting in and making this preventative, so we can get inside the heads of 5-year-olds, you know, we can inspire them, but we can also show them that it's just not cool. Don't play on the railway, and it seems to be working so far. Yeah,
it sounds great, and obviously because you go into quite a lot of schools, don't you, across the country, across Wales or across the whole of the UK?
Across the whole of the UK, although at the moment that's obviously not been possible. So sadly, COVID has another casualty, which, you know, schools are shut unless you're key worker children. So we're not going into schools. We will be back as soon as it's safe to do so. But it's nationwide. We tend personally as Motion to deliver a lot more in the areas where we have projects. So every project that we do, we make a commitment to delivering to schools in that area. And that means, you know, that we're giving back to the communities that are supporting our growth as a business, which feels nice. You know, it's part of it. And I think it's important that if we're installing new infrastructure, the children understand how to use it and that they're familiar with it, and feel empowered to make safe choices, not just do what your friends are doing.
No, exactly. And I was going to ask about the COVID situation, which I know is all anyone's hearing about at the minute, so I don't want to dwell on it too much, but I was thinking that it's probably affected the way that the motion reality works in terms of going into school and stuff like that. So how have you sort of reacted to that, and how have you adapted it?
You're right, sorry, I talked over you, but the problem that we have is that you can't put a headset at the moment on one child and then move it to another one. So there are some disinfectant measures that are coming into place, some special lights and screening tools for virtual reality kit, which are being tested at the moment. So what we're looking to do is procure some of this cleaning and these special face guards so that it will make it safe again. Obviously, they've got to go through trials first and make sure that they're all compliant. But it is absolutely our intention that as soon as it's safe to do so, we will be back out in the schools. I think that the last one we did in conjunction with Network Round was brilliant. It was at a school for hearing impaired children. And so for us being able to put, you know, the children into headsets and start to look at how we can apply this, you know, for all people with disabilities as well as able-bodied children, because that was a real first for us. We didn't know how they'd respond. So we're really looking forward to working with Phil Webster at Network Rail to try and develop, you know, what works and what doesn't, and see if we can adapt our system so that it's accessible to even more. So that will be the next step, and obviously continuing with the STEM events and supporting our customers that come to us and ask us to do it for them as well as part of their projects. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I think I was going to touch on your recent success as well as a business, in that I'm going to probably butcher this name, but you've won the Business of the Year for Blenheim Gwent. Is that how I pronounce it?
Blind Gwent, yeah. We had Small Business of the Year and Overall Business of the Year, I think. That was a couple of them. We've had the Rise Awards for SME growth, and recently the Fast Grow 50, 7th fastest growing business in Wales. Wow, that was a big one. Yeah. I smile. We are going to have to get a trophy coming.
You're going to need a big mantelpiece, aren't you?
I know. Well, working from home, it was a bit strange having all these trophies on your kitchen windowsill. But moving back to the office, they're all pride of place. We're very proud of it. And I think what it shows us is that there was a distinct change. When you start focusing on people, when you start doing things to give back, actually nobody does that with the intention that, oh, my business might grow. It wasn't profitable. We lost money. This for us was about doing things that could actually give back. Something that I'm very passionate about. I had a lot of help as a youngster from the Prince's Trust. I certainly wouldn't be here if it hadn't have been for their involvement. So for me, this was a way to, pay it forward, to make good. And it has, but the knock-on effect has been that Motion as a business have gone from strength to strength. People know who we are, they know what we're doing. It was, who's this SME in South Wales with these innovative, products? What's happening? What can we do to help? And we took lots of volunteering from different companies that come and help us. We're always open to resources that want to volunteer their days. And I think the industry sort of got behind us a little bit. We started winning lots more work, and I'm sure it's because we're good at our jobs and I've got a great team, but also I think you like to help people that are trying to do the right thing. It's human nature. And we've got our principal contractors license now, a provisional awarded last month. Hopefully this is our tier 1 adventure beginning, and we'll have a chance to make some real differences to an industry that sometimes is accused of being stuck in their ways. So hopefully us doing things differently will be part of the future.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it can be seen as quite an old-fashioned industry in terms of teaching people things, and I think what you're doing is a great example of progressiveness and moving forward, and hopefully you'll be top of the Fast Track 50 next year, maybe. I don't know what that will look like this year. I think surviving was the biggest achievement, but perhaps the year after I might go for that one. But I think this year is about sustaining. We're lucky to be here. We really are. We're not going to take that for granted, and reflecting on how far we've come, because I think everybody is feeling quite down. Like you said, you don't really want to talk about COVID at a huge level, but it's important to stay positive, to reflect on the great outcomes, that have come. For us, looking back and saying, would we have made the changes that we have in the last 12 months had we not been forced? No, but they're a good thing. We've invested in ourselves and come out the other side, and hopefully we'll have years and years to come, having learnt those lessons. It's awesome. I think it has been a difficult year, but it's about embracing what you can, the positives that you can take, and I think what you're doing is a great example of that. I wanted to touch a bit more about you personally rather than the business, and I saw that you've just been awarded Women in Rail Inspiration Woman of the Year. Sorry to bring that up, but that must have been a great achievement personally for you.
And I say this, I'm obviously very honoured. I also feel a little bit uncomfortable about it, because I don't actually think I'm very inspirational. Stubborn, I've said this before. I was shocked that I was entered, more so by my lovely team. Thank you, guys. But finding out that I'd won was just overwhelming. We're full of really great people in this industry, and to sort of be given a trophy and told, well done, you're the most inspirational this year, was a bit surreal and odd. But look, we appreciate it. We appreciate that, women need role models, children need role models. For me, it's a badge, but it's one you have to wear with honour, and it comes with a responsibility, because I would really like to inspire those next generation of engineers, female ones as well, but not just that. It's about diversity, it's about inclusion, it's about understanding that you can achieve anything you want to if you set out to. And I think what maybe is a bit inspirational about my story is that perhaps I didn't have the most easy path ahead of me. I certainly didn't follow traditional education routes, didn't come from a particularly traditional family background, but my family were engineers. My grandmother was a Royal Naval Wren, one of the first. My aunt was a chemist for British Petroleum, flying in helicopters to oil rigs, testing things. And my mother welded sections of the Channel Tunnel. So for me, I didn't ever really think that gender was relevant,
No.
you know. And I have to be honest, you know, I see your podcast questions, you know, we get things before and we look at them, and people always say, what were your challenges? You know, did you face any being a female? Well, I think my biggest challenge was probably myself, you know, but believing that I could, thinking that I was good enough to have a go. And also I think that there's a lot of stigma associated with our industry that, you know, there's not a lot of women. We've got to remember 20 years ago there weren't. And particularly women from my background, which was boots on ballast. I was a cable jointer, maintenance, out on track every day. That was not the norm. Yes, we're seeing a lot more women in rail now, but a lot of them are in administration roles, in management roles. What we really need to start focusing now is on sort of skills, bringing frontline, if you like, resources out there. The railway is a wonderful place. It's not particularly glamorous out on track, you know, I'm going to be honest. It was a very girly job, I think, was how people used to describe it. My grandmother wanted me to be a hairdresser, you know. Just so one of us could be normal, I think is what she said. But actually, she was very proud of us all doing what we did in engineering roles in the end. But I think that the industry needs people to be able to look up to say, you know, there are different routes in. We have graduates, we have apprentices. We also have people like me that didn't finish school, you know, that didn't come out with A levels, that probably did it the hard way. So when people ask me, what was your biggest challenge? Definitely me.
Is it still you, do you think? Or
not now? No, I think that the biggest challenges I faced were believing in myself and believing that, you know what, you don't have to know everything. You'll learn some things along the way, and asking for help, being able to say, I don't know how to do this. Can someone help me? And being able to let my own pride do that was huge. Then once I realized you could ask for help, and surrounding yourself with a team of people that you believe in and actually letting them just do their thing. I think that for me, building a team at Motion and taking it from being Emma the engineer and a few people helping to structure, you know, having formal processes. I think the most important thing is I'm not their boss. I'm their leader. They look to me for direction, but I employ people that can do their jobs far better than I could tell them how to do it. So it's about letting them get on with it, letting them have ideas and not stifling them, but sort of steering them in different directions. They would probably say their biggest challenge is me and the ideas that I keep chucking at them, you know. I remember the first time we said, I want to be carbon zero. And they were like, okay, zero's cool, we can work towards that. And then I moved the goalpost and went, that's not good enough. Make me carbon negative. They're like, what is that? Oh, Christ, you know, really, Emma? But look, it's important. That's my role. My job is to think of the next thing and to always be on top of that game and sort of making sure we're predicting what our industry needs. And, you know, that's one of our biggest business challenges now is how do we achieve our science-based targets? How do we navigate out of COVID? How do we build teams and influence people? And at the same time, deliver safe, resilient infrastructure that enhances people's lives, that adds post-COVID, you know, community connectivity. Those things are really important, that we stop doing things the way we always did and look to the future and say, what would we like? You know, what do we want our futures to be? Because we don't have to do what we've always done.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. I think COVID's been a tough time, but maybe a tougher time will be how do we react once we're all back to normal, if that will be a thing, and how businesses get back to their ways, or if they get back to the ways, or if they try and do something a bit different. You touched on the carbon zero or carbon negative there. Is that something that Motion are looking at in terms of their sustainability goals?
So it's right up there, yes. So sustainability is prime on my agenda after our corporate social responsibility programs. So we have already set upon our science-based targets program, which is exciting.
Yeah.
We've had to learn what that meant really, but the ways that we've gone about it, we thought if we can do this as an SME, if we can do this when we're little and embed it, it will get big, as we get bigger and grow, it will be an established process that isn't so difficult. So we started with some basics.
Yeah.
Measuring our carbon footprint was the first challenge. We then had to think about how we collected that data, and actually there's some really easy ways to do it for smaller businesses, things that can help you. We had a look at fuel cards, telematics. We use Shell. I'm sure there are lots of other people out there that can do the same thing, but they monitor, they make it very, very easy for us. So they put trackers, telematics in our vehicles, they look at our spend. And for every litre of fuel that we consume or electricity charging points that we use, because our vehicles are hybrid or electric, we can put back into the environment everything as a minimum. So we can get our fleet, if you like, to zero quite easily. And then anything that we do on top of that then takes us negative. So it's really about thinking about the simple things. And I think a big part of a change in our industry that I've seen is about doing the right thing. It is no longer about the bottom line. The bottom line is important because if we're not here, we can't do it. But it's not the only driver. Value is about so much more than just what you charge. But I think that we'll see another shift now in the next 12 months. I think with consumerism, and I've done a few conferences lately that talk about this. And what really struck me is that really as humans, we consume so much more than we need. COVID taught us, about what we couldn't have when they took away what wasn't an essential. Things that we thought were important won't be for at least a little while. And actually what I think is that we don't really want to go back to that. We need to start thinking, should we be procuring these things? Rail freight is a massive part of our industry. We're shipping things back and forth, but we should be thinking, do we actually need the things that we're buying? Do we need all this stuff to be happy? Well, actually, I think that will be the bigger changes in achieving, environmental reduction in the crisis that we're in. Will be about the responsibility on individuals, on businesses, and how we police that. So I think politicians are going to have to make things perhaps a little bit firmer before we see some real changes, because people need to understand how important that it really is to protect the environment that we live in.
Yes, I completely agree. I think from our side, we're looking at things like, do we need to print that catalogue, or do we need to send something out by post when we could email it, or just little things like that, which you didn't think about before COVID really. And now it's sort of thrust it all upon us, and it's at the top of the agenda, like you said, isn't it?
Well, it's odd, isn't it? Because you say about brochures and you think about it, that there's so many elements. At the moment, you don't send a brochure because you don't want people to touch things.
Yeah.
But it did make us question, do you really want to touch something anyway? Do we need to touch this? Should it be digital? There are so many other ways to capture attention, aren't there? Than bits of paper coming through your letterbox. That's a quick fix.
I know. So yeah, that's all great. And I was just going to finish. I think we've touched on it a little bit, but I don't really usually like asking this question. But where do you see Motion in 12 months' time?
Still here. Absolutely, first and foremost, after the last 12 months, that's the proudest achievement. We are still here as one team together. I see that team growing. Our railway family will get bigger. I see some very sort of larger contracts on the horizon. I see some exciting things in South Wales happening. Those contracts will allow us to grow sustainably, not just from an environmental perspective, but it's about saying, right, let's look at how we procure resource. Let's look at some apprentices. We've now got longevity of work, and that longevity means we can start training. We have formal apprentices that we're considering down that route, but also non-formal apprenticeships. So being able to take someone in that maybe hasn't had those opportunities in life, a bit like myself, and take them under our wing and say, we'd like to help you forge your way in the world. So there's a couple of Jobs Growth Wales placements that are being advertised.
Mm-hmm.
We really want to start developing our workforce with people that can stay. Peaks and troughs we're hoping will always be a thing in the railway, but will be less of a concern now with the order book that we've got. We can sustain that resource, we can learn, we can share that information, and I hope very much in 12 months' time I will understand in great detail all of the new PCL processes we've put in. I hope we'll have achieved our science-based targets for the first year, and I hope we've thought of something innovative and different, like the VR, because we want to do something else. The VR is not boring to me, but it's done, it's good. We either need to develop it now to make it better, or come up with something even more crazy and show the industry that that's not the only thing we're capable of doing different. So to this space.
Yeah, that's exciting, because I think the VR in itself is brilliant and innovative, but the fact that you've got ideas of making that even better and making that teaching process even more fun for children and people trying to get involved in the railway is brilliant, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. Should be exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for joining me, and hopefully we can chat again soon in 12 months time maybe, and see how you've done with your progress.
Yeah, thanks Harry, that's really great, and good luck to you all as well, and stay safe.
Thank you.